Welcome, Sharif, to Sippin' Sunday, the podcast. Very excited to have you on. Let the listeners know what you're sipping or what your favorite drink is.
These days, we're sipping some water. We're trying to get the body right, cleansing everything. Cleansing everything.
Good for you. I also have water and I have my juice in my SpongeBob cup that I love. I got this
Okay.
from Black Girl Art Show. The brand was She Knows the Deal, and everybody knows I love SpongeBob, and this is a very good SpongeBob cup.
Well, the trick is to drink more water because when I go out later, I'll get some juice and things like that. So it's just a balance of things.
Yes, as
Yeah.
adulting always is.
Yeah.
And the next question I always ask everybody is, at what age do you feel like you became an adult, if you've reached that age yet?
I feel like in my heart of hearts, I've never really reached the full adult because I'm a kid at heart. I love to have a good time. I love to have fun. But I think things started very young for me. Very young. I might have been maybe 14, 15 when I really started to grasp what adulting looked like. Not the full concept, but knowing that I needed to walk into adulting. I needed to do certain things that adulting required. So that was what was major for me, was just like, look, you're starting early. Some of the things you need to do, some of the things you need to process, the people around you are not processing. And when I realized what I wanted out of life, I think it started to happen then. When I realized, you know what, 14, 15, this is what I really want out of life, I started to really indulge that way.
And what was like one of the moments or things that made you feel like it was different for you? Like you mentioned, with seeing how other people were operating, you were like, okay, like I know I got to do something. What was like one of those indicators or moments as a teen that you're like, I need to figure out adulting?
I think when I realized what I was choosing to do, where I was choosing to go, defeating the odds, knowing that my parents didn't go where I was going, didn't do what I wanted to do, didn't understand completely what it meant to see success. So I think when I realized I wanted to not just go away to college, but I wanted to graduate, and then I wanted to have a master's degree, and I wanted to go to certain schools, and I wanted to study certain things. And I wanted to be in media and broadcast and journalism and communications and really just hone it and the value of a mic, the value of my voice, and how why I wanted to speak up about certain things and why I was just so adamant about getting involved, writing and engaging. That's what really kind of changed the game for me because I knew nobody really understood or could give me the guidance that I needed, so I had to outsource.
And that was leading actually to my next question of like, how did you find the resources and the exposure to get you to now have not one but two master's degrees? You've
Yeah.
been to HBCU, and from what you're explaining, that doesn't seem like it would be easy to figure it out, but like you did. So where did that exposure in high school come from so that you could make it to college, graduate, join a fraternity, all those things?
Seeking. It was seeking, wanting to know what's out there first. Before I could really find out what I wanted, I had to seek what was out there. Let me find out all of the things that I could look into. What are the options? And then after seeing the options, then I could say, you know what? Okay, this is what I want out of these options. This is what's out here. This is what I want out of these options. That helped me. Mentors was major, was huge. Just being able to have people that could speak affirmation over me. Just being able to show me the way. And I mean visually, I'm a visual person. Learning how I learned and finding out who could teach me in the way that I could learn. So it's just about the importance of opening myself up to people giving me advice, helping me to be able to navigate in all waters. I say that as a kid, I learned how to swim, and I still don't know how to swim to this day. It's a metaphor. Um, that no, I was always in deep water. I was always in deep water. I had to learn how to swim. And so finding mentors, they were my swim instructors. They were the ones that helped me and also helped me to find out, they'd be like, you swim like a dolphin, you swim like a
Yeah.
shark, um, you swim like a goldfish. Just all
Not
these
a
different
goldfish.
things. Yeah, maybe not a goldfish.
Yeah, because I'm like, that's when they go too quick. They're real small. I was like, there's
Yeah,
no intimidation
but
by a goldfish.
I mean, whatever you want to swim like, it was there for you, to paddle and all of those kinds of things. The doggy paddle and all of that. I say that to say that I had to learn my own way of swimming. I developed my own swim style. Um,
Oh my god, I just
just
thought about Old West waves on swim. That popped
yeah,
into my
yeah,
head. That's
yeah,
the song that I immediately heard right when you can say swimming. I'm
yeah.
like, wow.
I had to
If
learn
you
how
know,
to
you
swim.
know.
If you know, you know. That was a time. Um, I had to learn my own swim style. My own swim style was just for me to be able to navigate to get to the place that I needed to be. No one could show me, so I had to outsource. I had to seek those mentors, and from those mentors, they introduced me to new mentors. So I never had enough mentors, and just taking everybody seriously, looking at everybody as a teacher. So
Hmm.
that was important to me too, is just being able to learn from every person. And because I didn't have um just all the information put in front of me, when I did get the information, it was more valuable, and I treasured everyone who gave me something.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you led into what my next question and topic was. But another thing first, I don't think I ever asked like Sharif D King, what does the D mean? If you want to tell the people your government name, or if
Sure,
not,
it's
you can tell me
yeah,
offline.
no, it's cool. It's cool. It's Deshaun.
Wow, I don't think I knew
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So it's
Oh,
Sharif
damn.
Deshaun King. Actually, so my father gave me my first name. My middle name came from my mom and my grandmother together. More so my mom, but um, my grandmother and my mom kind of looked at Deshaun as Dijonaise, like the
Mm-hmm.
fancy mustard. Um,
Mm.
and then I have another middle name that I won't release, that I
You
can't
can't have
release.
the full
You
government,
can't
just a
have the
part of
full
it.
four, just part of it, just a tad bit, just you know. And then my last name is self-explanatory. Funny enough, people never ever thought, like, people thought I was making this name up. They were
No,
like,
I do. That's what I was just about to say. Your name sounds like it's an alias, not your actual name. Like
yeah,
Sharif King just sounds like this is just what you want to go by because you're a host, because you're a radio
yeah,
personality, because of that stuff. So it's
yeah,
like you are fit for what you're doing because your name
yeah.
just.
No, I thank God for it. I never knew how much God prepared me for this time, for this moment. Like, He was always preparing me. I never knew. I just wanted to talk.
Were you a
Sometimes
talkative kid? Like, were you just like running amok in school, chit
I
chat with
think
everybody?
I think I was talkative, but not at the same time. I always knew I was the entertainer. I remember having a karaoke system. I remember taking my uncle's records, and um, probably breaking some of them, scratching them up. I knew that I didn't want to be a DJ, but it was fun, and so that's one of the things that has become a hobby for me now. Was like DJing and just learning how to play songs,
Hmm.
transitions. I'm not a DJ. I have full respect for all
I
DJs. I
can't
have
see you
so
being a
many.
DJ. That doesn't fit.
Yeah, I have so many DJ friends, but this summer I'm gonna try my hand for real. I'm gonna
To
try my hand for
DJ?
real.
Oh wow.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Like,
I'm.
not that you can't do it because people, because you work with like DJs, you work in parties and stuff.
Yeah,
I guess like what I'm picturing would be who I feel like I just saw on Instagram somebody posting about a DJ that also is like a really good host at the same time. I
yeah,
cannot remember who it was, but it also just reminds me like with Chris, like who did Sip and Sunday. Shout out
yeah.
to Spotlight. But I feel like
Spotlight, what's
he's
up, yo?
interactive and a good DJ at the same time. And it is
Yeah,
hard to, it can be hard to do both because I can't imagine like you're trying to think about the music, you're trying to spin, you're trying to like intertwine things, trying to
yeah,
read the crowd. But then if you're talking on top of that and like
yeah.
interacting, like that's a skill.
It is a thing, but I just let me be clear. It's just a hobby. I just love music. It's not something that I'm looking to be like, oh, this is the thing that I have to do.
Yeah.
This is something that I'm taking serious. Don't get me wrong. I love music, but it's just something I came into. But my name was something that just seemed so big, and people would just be like, "Yo, you're an actress," or um, "You should go on TV. You could be Idris Elba's nephew," like all those
I
kinds of
see that.
things.
Now you say Idris Elba.
Yeah.
I see that. Maybe you're related down the line. Get some
Mm,
24 me or 23 me, whatever that thing's called.
yeah, yeah.
The
Hit him up.
DNA.
Hit him up. Let's see if we related for real. But yeah, my name is I thank God for how it played out, Sharif D King. But it also SDK stands for style, demeanor, and culture. So I hold tight to those initials, and it does well for me.
Yeah, no, that is definitely great. And let's back up a little bit. You're from Harlem,
Yeah,
New
yeah.
York. I'm surprised you didn't say that when you got in here. I know it's probably in the bio when I read that, but
No,
I'm
they
surprised.
know I'm from Harlem, USA. They know I'm from Harlem, USA.
That's usually the first thing you say.
Yeah.
So what high school did you go to in New York City?
So I actually went to St. Raymond's for boys,
Oh yeah.
but then I transferred. Many people thought I would have went to Rice, but I went to St. Raymond's for boys, and then I transferred out, and I ended up going to Snyder High School in Jersey City.
Oh,
Um,
who knew? See, this
yeah,
is I said everybody. Well, probably, people aren't tired of me saying this because they listen to the podcast every week.
yeah,
If you're a loyal listener, but when I really talk to my friends and find out new information, it's so fun. Because like, who would have thought like to ask these things or no? I thought so. Not that you're not from Harlem, but you're a perpetrator because you didn't graduate from a New York City public
yeah.
school.
But I was still traveling. I was
I mean,
still
you
traveling.
were, but that also kind of to me explains like your exposure, like how you know certain things, like how you can
Yeah,
adapt to different environments
yeah.
because you went to school out of New York City, which is not a bad thing, but it just now it makes sense of your exposure and all that stuff.
Yeah, I had to go back and forth, and so it was actually a gift to be a tri-state kid, to be able to be like, you know what, I'm from Harlem, we're gonna do it big, and then be able to travel to Jersey and then get that Jersey love, just
Yeah.
knowing the different
It's giving
things.
me Diddy vibes without all his controversy that's going on now. But because he's from not you doing the little dance. But because he's from Jersey, but like made a name in New York City and stuff, it was
Yeah,
going back and forth. And again, I want to emphasize without the foolishness, okay, people? Don't be trying to slander my friend's name. I'm saying it reminds me of that without the foolishness
yeah,
that Diddy is
yeah.
going
Don't
through.
don't put me in the same, you know.
Yes, because that's crazy. But
But shout
okay,
out
so
to
then you
King
went
Combs.
there.
Shout out to the whole bad boy. Yeah,
The now I'm picturing the Diddy Bop, and then also that clip when he falls on stage. That clip is funny. Anyways.
we crazy, bro.
So you go there, you go to school in Jersey City, graduate from Jersey City High School. Then you went to Delaware State first. Then you
Yeah,
came to good old Westbury, and
yeah.
then you
So
went to
there was a stop in between. So
gotcha.
when I left Dell State, I transferred to Five Towns College in Long Island.
Yes, yep. You
Um,
did.
and so I went there because I'm like, this is the entertainment school, and really I was just frightened for my life. I always say school saved my life because I was really just trying to transfer. I was trying to transfer to make sure. The main thing is I didn't want to be a statistic. I didn't want to be a black boy that dropped out of school, didn't have no college degree. So I was fighting to make sure that I can finish school. And many people know how hard it is. You know what I'm saying? Like how
College
hard
is
it is.
rough. Like it is crazy. I was just talking to one of my students today, and she was just saying how she feels like this semester is easier. But I'm like, college is really not easy at all. And I think that like I'm so grateful that I have so many people in my circle that have degrees and advanced degrees, doctorates, masters. So it seems common to me, but like it's not common. Like
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's expensive and it's just generally hard. And I do think that it's become harder for people to go through college, not just because of cost, but because you can't just really go to college and just be a college student anymore. I
yeah.
don't feel
No,
like you have to have a job, like you have to be worried about your family. Like it's a lot.
it's a
I
lot more. It's a lot more. And that's for me, I just had to fight. I just really just had to fight those generational curses and really move the meter. And so I ended up transferring to Five Towns College, got an associate's there. Then I jumped to Old Westbury. And I had a time at Five Towns because it taught me a lot about myself. And I had a time at Old West. Shout out to Old West,
I
Team
would
Old
go
West.
back. I say it all the time. Bring me back. I would stay in like junior or senior year. I would just stay
Listen,
there.
turn. I mean, that time first of all, Old West just felt like a HBCU. You know what I'm saying? It's just the vibe. And anybody could attest to the parties. You know, we made I mean, the people who didn't live on campus used to leave and come back like, yo, I gotta
They were
get
like
back.
resumutors. That's what we called them.
Yeah, I gotta get back to have a good time. So I had a blast with just hosting, creating events, curating things. That was the time that I learned a lot about myself that I just didn't want radio. I just didn't want television. I just didn't want magazine or newspaper. I wanted to entertain.
And you were a transfer. So how did you even start getting involved in hosting and like putting yourself out there for like media at Old Westbury? Because you were hosting like every and anything, but to be like a new kid on the block, quote unquote, and especially a transfer, like I think that Old Westbury is such a tight knit community that when you came in as a transfer or a new person, like people knew they were like, "Who is this? Like, where'd
Yeah,
you come from?" Like, kind of like trying to read you to be like, "Are you gonna fit in or are we not gonna like you?" And not many people were disliked, I would say, at Westbury, at least from what I can like recall, because that
yeah,
was now a good 15 years ago, which is
yeah,
outrageous. Like,
yeah, yeah.
that's
I,
crazy.
I'll say this. There's something to be said about when you want something. You know, you really just don't care who's gonna say what, who's gonna do what. I came in, I already had credentials. I had already been working at BET.
Okay,
Um,
BET
yeah, I
said
had
put some
already
respect on
been,
my name.
yeah, interning at LRG Clothing. I had already been working with All Hip Hop. I had a mixtape out
A
with Ron
mixtape.
Browse.
Okay, let me go
Yeah.
dig this
Do you
up.
remember? I don't know if you remember, but I lived in when I first came to Old Westbury. I lived in Building 3, and
Hmm.
so what I did was, as promo, I do the mixtapes on the floor.
I don't
Um,
remember that because I think I lived in building. No, I had to have lived in building 3 then too, because you came in 2010 to Old Westbury.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, so I lived in building 3. I don't remember that, but I'm sure that happened.
So I had mixtapes. It was me, DJ E Nice, and Ron Browse. I had a mixtape called Harlem to Hollywood. So DJ E Nice was G Dev's DJ, and Bad Boy, and Ron Browse was this big super
Yeah, what song
producer.
he have? I could hear it in my head. Give
Um,
me $20. That one is that his song?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Give me $20. That's Ron Browse. First of all, why do you know that, Amber? Like,
And I was like, that I know that name. I was like, I hear the song in my head.
yeah.
Like, yeah, that was a good song.
But you know why you're giving $20?
Why?
No cuffing in the club.
Oh yeah, there we go. Because I could not remember the rest of the
Yeah,
lyric.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, all I know was you were giving $20, but I don't remember the next part. Yes, I'm gonna
Amber,
listen to that after this.
you're
I'm gonna write that
crazy.
down.
She said I'm gonna listen to this. Yeah, but I had that mixtape, Harlem Kid, and I was just throwing stuff on the floor. Like that was promo. That was promo. I
Promo
was
is
just
so
like,
different now,
you know
but you're
what?
right. People did have their stuff all over the place, putting up flyers, the little party promoter
Yeah.
cards thrown everywhere.
And then what I did was I had already been getting cosigns from legendary DJs, legendary um entertainers, producers. I had a lot of big interviews. And so what I did was I took those interviews and I put them on OS TV. So you could not get enough of me because when you turn on OS TV, there I was. When you walked up the hill or whenever you walk somewhere, you see my face on the floor.
No, that's
Then
true.
I then SGA, I was hosting every single thing, creating the events, and I made it cool. People forget this. I made it cool to
With the
really,
K.
yeah, absolutely. Yo.
I remember
Uh,
that.
I made it cool to make sure that school spirit was seen.
I think about that all the time. And actually, as I got right here, my old Westbury Panthers
Right.
mouse pad on my desk, and just yeah. And even now, like on Facebook, we only keep Facebook for the Facebook memories and your old aunties and uncles on there. But the Facebook memories that always pop up from Old West is like me promoting Green and White Wednesdays so hard. I was like, it's Green and White Wednesdays. Everybody wear your green and white, wear your green
Yeah.
and white. Like
Yeah.
everybody put it on, like school
Yeah.
spirit. And then when it got to like my senior year and being like the senior class president, and all the stuff, I'm like, this was crazy. But going back to what you said before, like this is always what you were meant to do. Like I always was helping people, organizing people, like doing some type of like community event or like sharing resources or making people aware of something. Like I always
Yeah,
was doing that.
yeah,
So I love when those memories come up because it was like fun, but I wouldn't have thought at that time that that would really help me do what I'm doing now. Like I was doing that stuff for fun. And I mean, I'm doing this for fun too,
yeah,
but
yeah.
now it's just turned into like work.
Yeah, no, that was a big thing, Amber. And honestly, like you were always ready to go. You were always ready. I remember coming to your room a few times, knocking on your door. Amber, what's good? This is what we need to do. And everything was just fun to me. You know, Old Westbury is just a time. It was just I can't even explain it. I had so much trouble explaining the time because we did so much, man.
And you had to be there. And I think like what this is timely of us recording. I mean, obviously we talk frequently, but because I just went to find wine and it was like going back to that, I was like, it's like we're back in undergrad again to see that. And I've talked about fine wine so many times on this podcast just because it's a great event, one. But for
Yeah,
me, when I go back to it, it just shows like how hard my friends have worked to
yeah,
make that happen and to bring other people together. And then it's like
yeah.
a reunion every time you go. So
Always love. Shout out to my brothers.
yes, we love them.
It's always major, and you know we were all together. We were all together in the trenches. People think about like,
Started from the
yo,
bottom, literally.
how do you know them, or how you know maybe people asking them, yo, how do you know him? It's like, yo, you don't know. We was in the trenches together. We was really doing this. You know what I'm saying? I
Wiping each
remember
other in the den when your points got low,
for real, for real,
borrowing cars.
borrowing cars, all types of stuff just to make it happen and shit. So Oh, Westbury has a special sweet spot in my heart. Um and so does Dell State. I did a lot of stuff at Dell State too. I turned up so
Yeah, so
crazy.
you went to Dell State, then you went to Five Towns, then you came to Old Westbury, graduated from Old Westbury with your bachelor's. Then
Yeah.
you went to Dell State for
I
your
went back
master's.
to Dell State for my master's. Because I love Dell State and I felt like Dell State was a place that I didn't want to live life without saying that I am alumni. It was more about legacy for me. And so I knew that first of all, HBCUs meant a lot to me. And so I just didn't want to be a person that didn't have that upbringing and to be official with it. You know what I mean? It's one thing to go, but it's another thing to have graduated from an HBCU.
Hmm.
And fun fact, um, I did go to Syracuse later down the line,
Yes.
um, and got, my second master's. But here's the thing. Syracuse and Delaware State University were always my two dream schools. Those were and both of those schools was just two schools that I ended up getting two masters from.
Yeah. Two
But
masters, people, not one.
you know what I'm saying?
Two.
So it always has a sweet spot. But I rep all schools heavy. Actually, I'm about to go get a new varsity
Oh
for
my
for
God.
Old Westbury. So don't try to beat me to it.
Yeah. Do they even have those in the books? I don't know, but
I'm about to go crazy. Watch what I do. Watch what I do. It's been too long. It's been too long. So I'm about to pop out with some old Westbury, like a fire old Westbury varsity
yeah.
jacket. It's time. It's time now. It's the time for me to. I haven't been back in so long, but shout out to everybody at Old Westbury. I'm coming. I'm
They need to
coming.
do like I don't know something. I'm not going to put my ideas out there for people to take them, but they got to do something.
Yeah, no, it's
um,
gonna happen.
and so you've gone to four different schools between bachelor's, associates, masters.
Yeah,
Then like your work experience has been in radio mostly, like when you were in school and stuff. And
yeah,
then you transitioned to the DMV area, and
yeah,
that's when you started working in like youth development. And so
yeah,
I do want you to talk about like how you have a passion for that as well, and how it ties into still like your media
yeah.
and the branding and like what you want to do.
Absolutely. Well, I did work in TV and digital. So the Rat Fest, Dopeness Magazine, BET.
They need to bring back like
Um,
106 and Park style shows because those were the days and good music
it's a
videos.
time. It's about to come back. A lot of that stuff is about to make its way back, circle back. Um, I the reason why I loved entertaining like youth people at the time it was my age group. But now it's like the youth, the younger people. It's like, yo, I love putting on for them, allowing them to have a good time and express themselves. And so I
And I
always
will say
knew,
safely too,
yeah,
and to like show them there's more than like the social media stuff, and like
yeah,
it's cool to be different, because I feel like when you're on social media all the time and like you're basically born with the internet, you're not able to be creative. I think we were so
yeah,
creative and
yeah,
we were able to like imagine and dream more because we didn't have so many distractions.
yeah,
And
yeah,
when I think about that, it's crazy because like we really are the old people now, and like I just don't know
yeah.
when we got here to be the old people. But I'm glad
Well,
that I grew up when I did, because I think we just have critical skills that the younger people are going to just learn later in life, but it's going to like delay them. But I
yeah.
won't say delay in a way, because like everybody carries on their own path, and like the world is changing and being made how it's supposed to, but like it's going to, sometimes I feel like from the students I work with, especially, like they're hindering themselves from opportunities because they're not willing to like see outside of their bubble or be creative or like think past
Yeah.
the box that they're put in. That's the way to put it. Not
Yeah,
that they're
I mean, I think I don't take any experience for granted. I think I always knew I was a great storyteller. I asked great questions. It's never just the questions that you see on the paper. I do great homework. I do great research. And so there's so many different things that I had in my back pocket that I could use that were tangible skills, just from interviewing to cold calling,
hmm
um, to be able to research, and to be able to speak very fluently, to be able to speak very well, candidly on person, place, or thing, or topic, whatever have you. So that helped me, and being able to have that kind of uh, that skill set allowed me to kind of build with youth as I went on, because how I got from media and broadcast and journalism and communications to now youth development was because I knew that that was something that they're interested in. So content creation, um, along with journalism and broadcast, is kind of similar, kind of the same thing. Only difference is in journalism, journalists tell both sides of the story.
hmm
It's all truth. They're trying to make sure that your story is told and your story is told, and both sides of the story is told. But in content creation, you're just telling one story. You're just telling one side. No one gets the other side. Um, but it's similar, and I knew that I would reach, and everybody who is in a career field has to learn how to pivot. They just have to. No matter where you are, no matter
Yes.
what you start in, you have to learn how to pivot. So um when content creation came along, it just allowed me to understand that there is expansion. People were like, "Oh, radio's dead, TV is dead." It's like, no, it's not dying.
Look, there's an
But
audience for everybody.
right,
Especially when we have a world with so many different generations, because old people are still listening to the radio.
yeah,
People still are getting newspapers, people are still getting magazines, and then like God forbid anything happens to the internet, like that stuff's gonna come back in play. Like people
yeah.
are gonna still need tangible things. And I think for like the right people again, and if you market it well, like Beyonce, people are running in these stores. Not I love Beyonce, but I am not, to go buy those magazines because she's on the cover. So they're like, let me go get it.
We don't. It doesn't. It's not gonna move. It's not gonna die completely. Are we going to a digital space? Are we in a digital era? Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's not dead. It's not
Yeah.
dead. We still look to radio in some ways to break certain records, things like that. Now you have playlists. Don't get me wrong. You have playlists. You have things that serve you well, but radio still does its thing, and it's not dead like people try to deem it to be. it's
Yeah.
not it's not dead completely. Like, there's so
Yeah.
much that we can do with all elements of media.
Yeah. And then I mean, I know you're a host and like you're good at conversation, but you again flowed into the next thing about how you've pivoted so much because you've gone to 4 different schools, which is definitely a lot. But I mean, for me knowing you, I don't ever feel like there was a time where it seemed like you were like stressed or like worried about much in all those changes from education to moving to career, and all that stuff. So how have you like navigated pivoting so much, and the
Yeah.
advice that you would give to people that are trying to pivot or start over or reinvent themselves to do something different, or not even different, like just to make a change in their life, because change is hard.
Yeah, I just had to understand what God was doing in me.
Amen. We love the Lord around here.
I definitely had to understand that he was showing me that you don't lose something, you gain something. And how you intertwine those things, how does it all work for your good? So for me it was just like, yo, I can make sure that I can rebrand, I can make sure that I'm elevating. And then I just kept finding people that align with purpose and where I was going and what I wanted out of life. Um, we don't ever look at the fact that Oprah has had a journey.
Everybody has, and that's the thing. I think like we see people not even like at their end or complete, but we see people where they're at, and you don't even think about like their journey or like where they've been and all those other things, and you wouldn't know that because it's like you meet people where you meet them at, and that's
Yeah.
where you kind of view them. But if you like start peeling people back, like everybody really does have a story, which is
Yes.
why I also like not just let anybody on here, but if somebody approaches me and they're willing to come on the podcast or they want to, like I want anybody to share their story because everybody has a story. Like
Yeah.
even though
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I don't do much, or like I just go to work, or like I'm not interested in
Yeah.
podcasts, or I'm not interested in having a job and being an entrepreneur. Like everybody has
Yeah.
a story of some sort.
No, everybody does have a story, and honestly, that's the reason why you gotta respect everybody from the ground up. And
Period.
that's why I say everybody's story is different. You just never know how you'll look at a person and be like, "Oh, his bio says all of this. Like, when did he do all of those things?" You don't know, but all of those things got done. I think in my journey, I was always doing two and three things. So while I was on the radio, while I was on TV, I was still going to speak to students. I was still going to read to the youth. I was still doing things in youth development, still mentoring kids, still mentoring youth. So I always wanted to give back. And that was the reason that I felt like youth development was important. And I never thought about like, oh, I gotta put this stuff down so that I can just do youth development. Some people
Mhm.
they navigate because it's a money thing. It's like, oh, I want to make sure that I can take care of my family. And sometimes media is hard, broadcast is hard, being an entertainer or actor. I mean, whatever you want to do, it can be hard, and sometimes people give up on that journey. For me,
Yeah.
I didn't give up on the journey, but I knew that youth development, media, broadcast, communications, journalism, all of those elements kind of went together, and I just became a mentor of life.
Yeah.
Just being able to offer people things outside of the scope of media, outside of what happens in entertainment, what happens in sports. I could still give them some life things, some life hacks that
Yeah.
could help them aside from what we need to do to excel.
Yeah, I really do feel like everybody can help somebody, but I think that like if you don't view yourself or your story or like what you've gone through, what you do as like valuable to somebody else, or like
Yeah,
as it's anything like out of the ordinary. Like if you just think you're ordinary, then like you're not really gonna want to step up and like speak to people, not even like on a big platform or anything like this, but just like helping people in your community, like helping your family, like even your friends. Like you're
yeah,
not going to do that if you think like you're just ordinary. But
yeah. You got to step out the box. You got to step out the box, and there are going to be people along the way that's going to tell you you can't do a thing, or will tell you that you need to. Oh, it's not working. Just adjust. Leave that alone.
yeah,
But we live in a day and age that you don't need anybody. You have the internet, right? Like you can become a podcaster today. If I get off this and
but
say, hey,
don't everybody don't be running by those mics because some people be saying some crazy stuff.
well, I mean, there are people out here literally doing it, and there's a space for people who are saying crazy things too.
I mean, yeah.
That's the part. Like, there are literally lanes for everyone to drive.
Yeah, no,
Literally,
it's true. Because even though like some stuff will look crazy to you, there is an audience. They got people somewhere somehow listening to their craziness or egging it on, or even like just following to be petty or like talk about them. But
yeah.
do what you want to do because
You
you
gotta
can
make
do
it
it.
happen. You gotta make it happen.
No, for sure. And well, I was gonna say we're taking a break. We're not taking a break. This is a live, not live recording. We're recording, but I was gonna actually allow you to ask me a question just because on Sippin' Sunday Live, Sharif was a host. If you didn't know, if you're new here, whatever. But like that, it was like a really good conversation, and so I'm gonna allow you to ask me a question. I should let other guests ask me questions later down the line. I'm gonna write that down too. Everybody
Um,
listening on audio, I'll be taking notes while doing this.
what is something that you could go back if you wanted to do your entry point into adulting over? What was something that you would like redo?
Oh, if I could have a re-entry to adulthood, what would I do different? That's really hard of a question for me to think about. Let's
It's
see.
got to happen. Let's go. Let's go. Ah! Amber, you know I was coming with it.
And that's why I said you could ask a question because you asked such good questions on Sip and Sunday Live. Oh my God,
Which
that's
they should have been there, people.
yeah, but there'll be more in the future. So, come on out.
Yeah.
I think okay, this is gonna be me being vulnerable, and don't ask me no follow ups. Let me put that out here first. If we need to talk offline to formulate this for the podcast, we can. But right now, my boundary is this is the answer to the question, and don't ask any follow ups. So I would say re-entry to adulthood or something that I wish I could figure out or like discover or think more about will be like romantic relationship. And this is why I say this. And I know you're proud of me saying that too, because I don't be talking about this, and that's why there's no follow-up questions, people. So I say that because I've now realized in my 30s that all these people are in relationships. And I'm not like saying I'm unhappy being by myself. I'm fine. Like I love myself. I have a great life. However, when you are seeing all these people get married, be in relationships, and then like you're trying to figure out like dating and everybody talking about it, it's like, how do you do this? Like, how do you figure this out? And I one obviously just am a busy person like with my business, with regular work, with life. So I'm not saying I don't want a partner or I don't want to date somebody, but like right now that really is not a priority for me. But
Yeah.
again, we're getting older, and not older in the fact that like I'm like time's running out, but when is this person coming along, or like how do I figure out these things? And I just did the attachment style quiz, which also not gonna disclose any of that information now, but I will eventually in the podcast episode because I feel like it'll be helpful for people. But reflecting on that, I was like, we got some things to figure out here. So
It's a quiz.
yeah, oh yeah, I thought you were about to ask a follow-up, but I said no follow-ups.
But I do have a
No.
follow up though. I do have a
Okay.
follow up though.
Fine.
It's
I'll
not
allow
it's
it.
and it's nothing crazy. So do you feel like adulting now versus adulting then, you're now thinking about, or are you careful about how adulting will look in the future? And are you taking tests because of that?
This is a see, and this is we about to have some more episodes with Sharif too. So I think I took the test because I was like, I've taken like the love languages test, and everybody knows my love language is gifts. Again, if you listen, that's not a new fact to anybody. Um, so I took that one, but I had never taken the attachment style one. But a couple of my friends have been talking about it lately as like they're going through their dating things. Like one of my friends mentioned it. So I was like, oh, let me go ahead and take this. And then I sent it to some of my other friends. So I feel like I looked because I never had taken it before. But as I read the results, I was like, a lot of this is true. So how do I figure out how to like be proactive and get ahead of it? Because it's not like it will all go away overnight, but like how do I figure out how to be proactive about it? And I feel like adulting looks different because when my grandma passed, and I think I might have mentioned this on the managing grief episode, my sister and I, like, we were like jokingly saying, but we're like, if something happens to us now, like, there's nobody here. It's like our family, but like people have their husband, their wife, their kids, like their
Yeah.
grandkids. It's about to be me and her dog and her partner. Like,
Mm, yeah.
and like I can say I don't like the way that sounds, but if that's the way that my life is supposed to turn out, then okay, I'm okay with that. But if there's something that I can try to do to see like will a long-term relationship work or will I have that, then sure. But yeah, that's
So
that.
that's you're just not worrying about it as a whole. So adulting right now consists of eating well,
Yeah, that's the first
working
thing I'm gonna
out,
say. Yes,
work life is good and productive, just balancing, business relationships, personal
yes,
relationships, and just traveling. But
yeah,
when is it that you open up to say, yo, I'm fully adulting at the next level because
exactly. But I feel like for me, the priorities just of like this year and like the goals that I wrote for myself is definitely in business, like my health, and financially. Those are like my three big goals, like the things I wrote out. And like priorities have always been like my friendships and like my family and stuff. So yeah, we
so
got some things to
just
work
just
out.
building generational wealth is at the top of the list these days.
And that's the thing too, thinking about like, okay, I have a house, I have a car, it's paid off. Like again, God forbid something happens to me tomorrow, like it's gone. It's back
Yeah.
to like the state, like nothing ever happened. Like the person didn't ever exist. Even with my business. So it's like figuring out how do things sustain beyond myself when I have gone from this earth. And that is not gonna happen, knock on wood, the good Lord, anytime soon. But
Yeah.
like again, in your 30s, like you gotta figure something out for like long term.
So you do you feel like as an adult you made it, like the success
Yeah,
factor?
I mean, I do feel like I'm successful. I will say the one thing that I would like to work on more is finances, more so in the way of like paying down debt because I mean, I was unemployed twice in the past 2 years, wait, we're in 2024. So I left my first job in 2022 22 or 21 22 22 beginning of 2022 and I left the other one in 2023 so like just getting my finances back in order more so of like paying down debt and building back up my savings and retirement I would say is like the financial goal but otherwise like yeah everything's great like
You said I'm living.
it's just the environment is too expensive for us to be living in
Okay, let's go. Let's go.
so yeah I'm proud of myself for that because wow
Yeah, give yourself a
I already know
certificate.
people are gonna be texting me like, "Good job, Amber. Thank you in advance."
Give yourself a certificate.
Let me give myself a pat on the back.
No, we gotta do better than the pat on the back now. Now we gotta give ourselves awards.
No, honestly, I mean, you see my degree is hanging behind me, but I've thought about like so many different things that I can do, like for just when I sell merchandise or even things that are for my business. And like, I do have on Instagram stories, you can screenshot the template that says like I adulted today and like put what you did because every day is a time in this
Yeah,
world.
absolutely.
I'm just so proud of myself for that question.
You should. You should be proud.
Um, and then that actually goes back to like what my last question was for you of that. How do you feel that men can be supported more to express vulnerability? And that question like can sound to maybe people that it's like not aligned with our conversation and maybe you don't feel that way but I think that again for you to pivot so many times for you to like share your story to people and for you to just be who you are does take a level of vulnerability but we know that men do not always like to express their emotions the world sees men as supposed to be providers, supposed to protect people, but like who helps you do those types of things, or like how do you express yourself when you don't want to come across as weak, X, Y, and Z, all the stereotypes and things that people see of men.
I lean on a few different people. One of my spiritual mentors, spiritual mom, she always spoke about having like a board of advisors, just having a team of
Yes.
people to lean on. And so I lean on that. I lean on the fact that, hey, you know what? I have a pastor. I have two pastors, Pastor K, Pastor Chris, shout out True City. So I lean on them, and I have different people. I have a council of people, a circle of people that I can go to, and that's how I can lean. I have a therapist. Um,
Amen. I
I
need
think
somebody to give me one.
everybody deserves one. Everybody should have one to speak on that. And then I just have my circle of friends, my team, you know what I'm saying, that I can lean on for certain things. And so learning to build that out as a man is important. It's not wrong to cry as a man. It's not wrong to cry as a man. I think that you should be able to let it out.
Yeah, because
Um
if not, it's like I just can't imagine. Like I feel like the weight of the world is like on your shoulders if you're not
you
able to
just gotta
express yourself.
you gotta be able to do it. But I think what has helped me to know what I really needed was like being able to jot things down, being able to have a journal, keeping a journal log in my phone, but also keeping a personal journal that I can come into my office space and just write in and say, hey, this is what happened to me today.
Yeah,
Mentally signing out and debriefing my day and saying, "Oh, I like when I did that." Not just saying I like when this person did that, but I liked when I did this thing.
yeah,
Um, being emotionally fit, just exercising your emotions, thinking about what you could have done better, what you would have done if you didn't make the move that you made. What could have been your pivot? What are some of the things that you want to do over? And people think about life as this, like, oh, it's behind me, I can't do it over. But that is a lie too. You can do things over. It's never too late. You're never too old to do a thing.
yeah,
But if you build that barrier, if you draw that barrier, that gate, that fence in front of you, then you don't get to jump over it. And if you built the gate and the fence to jump over and you don't jump over it, then you have to do the work within you to tear that wall down, to tear that gate down, to tear that fence down so that you can get over the hump. Um, that's important. And surrounding yourself with other people. If you desire to be a billionaire, then you gotta get in a room with billionaires. You just gotta.
yeah. Because you have to be
You
able to
know?
like see it and like be able to network because you should always have people that are like where you want to be, like people that are like below you, not below you like that, but like behind or like those words are sounding bad, but you all get what I mean. Like
Yeah,
having somebody that's just like in a different place or like younger or like they want to be where you're at and then have people on your same level around
yeah,
doing things that you're doing and then again like above because it helps you just to like get different perspectives. And I think that was something that was really helpful for me, especially at Old Westbury actually, because I mean
yeah,
like we were not thinking about it at the time. And this is what I always tell my students that like your friends are your network in college. Like, yeah, you're partying with them, you're drinking with them, you're doing crazy things, but you're also in class with them, you're on e-boards with them, you're in the fraternities, sororities with them. And then when you graduate, like, they're going to be working professionals. Even though that's still crazy, there's all those memes that are like, I can't believe my friends doing the job they're doing because
yeah.
we were doing keg stands 5 years ago. Like all those things. But it's still true though, because I do feel like I've gotten a lot of opportunities from our own friend group
Yeah.
and then aside from that, like even the professionals that were working there, or just most professionals that I've just come across, have become mentors and they're like 50, 60 plus years old, but they're still being able to add value to what I'm doing and give input and stuff like that. So,
And that's
yeah,
that's important to, as a man to know, where do you gain value? Like, what do you want to be? What type of man do you want to be? And start to seek that. You want to be around the men that you want to be. Wisdom was key, and learning myself and understanding myself, knowing what I want to do, where I want to go, the places that I want to be. And then, drawing out that map, and then coming back to God, praying about it and saying, oh, is this where you want me to go? This is what you want me to do? How do I turn up? How do I get to this place? Oh, this is fire. This is something
yeah,
I don't like. So it's just a lot of decisions that have to be made, especially as a man. I desire um, to be a protector and a provider, and to grow and to be everything that I'm supposed to be, that God has called me to be. But I think it takes you understanding yourself, especially as a man. You got to do certain things, women do certain things, and you got to understand not just what men do, but who are you called to be? Who are you supposed
yeah.
to be? And that's what helped me, and that's why, it's so important and vital for me to help other youth, other men, other boys
Yeah.
too.
I really do feel like young boys and like young men, it is like really like difficult. I don't know why like things are, or why that group is like passed over or like not thought of as like they need additional assistance or anything. And I mean, we
Yeah,
know that men mature slower than women, but I don't feel like we build systems or anything to like help that. We're kind of just like, oh, like don't cry, like pull yourself together, like be a man, like suck it up. And then that's not helping because then we
because it
get
is not.
people 30, 40 plus that just it's just
I don't put an age on anything. I think everybody learns at their own pace. So I don't even believe in the whole, like, I don't subscribe to like, oh, women, they learn faster than men. Even, I mean, some people say that it's proven, but I think that it just depends on who you're around. Uh,
Yeah. And I guess I wouldn't say an age because, like, that people have asked me, like, do I feel like there's like a peak age of like everybody's an adult? But I don't because it's based off of who you're around and your life experiences and your own thoughts. But I think something that's like really important as in adulting that we're not taught is like you have to make your own decisions and you're the only one responsible for your decisions. Yes, you
yeah,
can get input from people, you can get advice from people, but at the end of the day, like you have to do something
yeah.
or change something. And if you don't, like nothing's gonna happen and you only have yourself to blame for it. Like you really can't blame other people for your life because it's yours. However, there's childhood trauma and things that have happened that play a role into how you
So,
are like developing and where you end up. But you have to take control of your life at some point, and that's something that teenagers are not taught. And that's why when they get to college or they graduate high school, like they just don't know what they want to do because nobody's
yeah.
ever asked them or allowed them to speak their mind freely about how they feel, like not even on any complicated conversation, like just a basic general thing. I don't feel like kids get enough say and like what they're like thinking and feeling because you just say like, oh, speak when spoken to, like stay in a child's place,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
nobody's like, not nobody's talking to you like that, but like this is a grown folks business, like, but they have minds, like they're thinking, they're not just sitting there like with a blank mind, they're seeing what's happening around them and forming opinions and things about that.
No, that's a real thing. That is a real thing. You got to be tapped in. That's what she's saying.
And that's why I also like what I do so much too, because I always was like in undergrad when I would be seeing like the people in like different positions just acting like they never were in our position. I was like, what, when did you lose like sight of that? And I vow that I will never lose sight of like that these are young people trying to learn, that they're experiencing different challenges and that I can learn from them to better help them. I can't
Well,
like impose everything I think on them.
I think that some people transition, right? I think there's another stage of adulthood which we haven't gotten to, where some people are like, you know what, I'm transitioning. I just want to go home. I just want to be home with my kids. I just want to do
That's true
this.
too. And that's a part of like when I was saying before, like that. I mean, I definitely can see just from my friends that have gotten married and have kids that their lives definitely change for sure. Like that then becomes your primary focus. So that's true. But I don't think that that should like not even prohibit you from doing your job. That shouldn't make you forget where you've come from. At least when you're working with students, like you're working with young people, you can't just be like, I'm gonna tell you to do this because this is my job and I'm telling you to do this, and like I'm not gonna listen or give any other like input or
I
room for
think
you to
people
like.
people do remember it, but it's more of a highlight reel. It's like, I
Yeah,
went to this school, I went to this degree, I did this, or when I was here, like, I mean, I think about like, yo, I came out of OS at 12. So like the things that I've done, like I'm far removed now. It's 24.
yeah.
So
That's what
like
I said. It was 15 years ago when I started, 2009. Like that
like
is outrageous.
honestly, it's nuts because going back there, it would seem like, whoa. Like I remember even like 2 years after I graduated, 3 years after I graduated, 40 years, like people still knew who I was because of what I did.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, yo, it's just like those plaques that you would see on the wall of people you would never meet, like ages
Oh
old.
my God, don't say it like that, but you're right. Yeah. Yeah. That is so true though. When you be walking around like, who is that?
It's
You're
like a
like,
banner.
and
It's
then
like a
you're like,
banner.
2012, that was so long ago.
Listen, it is what it is. And so right now I'm in this space where like I want my name to be a banner in the stadium. I want my name to be a banner in the stadium, and no matter where I go, my jersey hangs up. That's
Mm-hmm.
just really what it is. Because I realize now that yo, in that time you don't think about it. When I was at Old Westbury, I never thought about the fact that yo, what I do now is gonna be legacy.
Yeah, no, I agree because you never like that's just not what you were thinking about. You were partying, you're just hosting, you're having fun with your friends, and then now you're like, oh wow, like this is like my whole career, and I have friends that I can like collaborate with and do like paid gigs and give them opportunities, and I can get opportunities, which is just again wild.
But let me say this though, like, um, I really miss it. I really miss the support, the strength that we all had to come to school, to stay in school, to graduate from school, and then navigate.
Yeah,
Like, all right, you graduated, what now? You
yeah,
know, and there was life waiting for us after that. But in school, I was just like, man, I don't. When I think about when I thought I was gonna have to drop out of college, it made me feel so low because I used to watch Different World. I used to watch just different shows, the Cosby's. I mean, just all of these TV shows that showed family and showed why your uncle was so cool because
yeah,
he dressed nice, but also he went to school, so he was somebody you looked up to. He could tell you the stories, um, or having cousins that went away to school. Those things, I was like, I want to be able to do that for people, and I
yeah,
didn't think about it before. Like, oh, when I'm old and I'm telling these stories, how it's gonna look. I just wanted to tell those stories.
yeah, yeah. I would say, I mean, I don't know. Well, I know two of my cousins listen to this, but I would say I think I'm probably the cool cousin. Like, I think so.
I'm probably the cool cousin.
I think so. Like, I'm thinking about it because, like, on my dad's side of the family, only my sister and I have gone to college, and now my two cousins that I do know that listen to this are in college.
Yeah,
But obviously they're younger. Even though this is just outrageous of the age that I'm at,
yeah.
but they're like, one just started their first year. I think one's gonna graduate soon. Um, but and then on my mom's side, it's me and my other cousin who's a doctor. Shout out to her. She got her doctorate. Put some respect on her name.
Some
Um,
respect.
but yeah, I think I am. I think I'm not. Even if they say I'm not, I am.
I think you're my cool cousin.
Thank you. I do what I can. I do what I can. But thank you, Sharif. This was great. This was a good conversation.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
it's
every
always
conversation is a good conversation. But let the people know where they can find you, where they can follow you. So when you on BT again and you're on all these big platforms, they're like, "Oh, I know him. He was on Sip and Sunday the podcast."
absolutely everything is at Sharif D King. You can also find my company, Sharif D King Media, MEDIA. You know what we do is always Kinging 24/7. And I am excited for what's to come. What we're doing. I'm dropping some new stuff that I'm gonna be doing in the community. You're hearing it first, Kinging in the community. So I'm going to be partnering with different nonprofits, different small businesses. I'm doing Kinging in the community, giving back to the community the Kinging way. So we're gonna be doing that. We're going to be doing His Crown. Is a lifestyle brand. It's also a media platform for men and boys, and it's also a mentorship program. So we're going to be having a lot of fun with that. Outside of that, I just launched the Crown Content Studios,
Mhm.
the Crown Content House. It's not really so much of a studio, but it's a Crown Content House. But it is a subdivision of Sharif D. King Studios. So we'll launch that, the studios, the media group. We're just expanding and learning the business. We're learning the business and doing
Yeah.
business for legacy. for legacy. So that's where it's at. SharifDKing.com, SharifDKingMedia.com. Lock in with me. And we're taking the Adult and Queen show on the road. I just want to say that here.
I
Um,
guess we are people because he said it.
and I am, normally you would think like the Adult and Queen, the Sippin' Sunday podcast is just Amber. But for the sake of it going on the road, I am a part of the podcast and we're going to talk. And honestly, feel free to go in the comments, invite me back because I have some things
Not,
that I want to. Yes, we need to do
not campaigning. Bring
yes,
me back.
bringing me back because I have some questions that you all want to know that I'm going to ask Amber that you should know about her at this stage of the
Oh,
game.
but cut. We're done. I'm kidding. But yeah, no, we
Yeah,
gotta think about that because again, I really have just been stemming a lot of my energy into like how I've been doing things with the Adults and Queen from the live event because again, it was just like so good. Like for me personally to finally see so many people at one time like understand the Adults and Queen as a business, like hear what it does, like hear my perspective on certain things because when I have guests on, like, yeah, I'm sharing my perspective, but it's a conversation back and forth, mostly
yeah,
for the guests. And for my individual interviews, like I approached it in the first season of more of like tips, like I might share a couple stories here and there, but it wasn't like me sharing my life or being as vulnerable as I can be or as people have like asked me to be because on the feedback people are like, oh, like we love it, you're very positive, you're inspiring, but like we want to know like how did you get there, like how what was the issue or the problem that like you went through to get there. And I'm hearing people, but I just approach things of like I need to get through it first before I can talk about it for sure, and we're working on it. So that was something that came back from Sippin' Sunday Live. And I think that I definitely was pretty vulnerable in some of the stuff we talked about. Um, so yeah, yes.
you
We will
were
have Sharif back
vulnerable.
for stuff.
You were
I
vulnerable,
did
and
what I
that's
could
why
do.
we needed to do it again. Or we could just go Sipping Sunday Live Part 2 before the end of the year is out and
Oh
really
no,
just
there
make
is
it
going to
happen.
be another one before the end of this year for sure.
Okay,
So everybody get yourself ready because there will be another one this year for sure. Like I know that, and then I'm probably going to keep it as like an anniversary show. So
okay.
January, everybody you know is coming around. Save
Let's
up your
do
little
it.
coins if you got to travel. If you got to figure that out. So
Let's go. Let's do it.
thank you again, Sharif.
Thank you.